All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something pretty wild. A claim that a 1,200-year-old poem from Islamic history, the Al-Hayya, might actually hold the key to solving some of our biggest modern problems.
And look, this question, it really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Our kids are in gangs, doing drugs, and you want to talk about ancient theology? It's a totally fair challenge. It can feel like a massive disconnect, right? But the argument we're digging into today insists that this is exactly where we need to be looking. So let's get right to it. Can a poem really fix our modern problems? Well, according to this tradition, the answer is a resounding yes. The idea here is that the real rot in society, it's not just about what people do, it's about what they believe. And this right here, this is the absolute core of the argument. You want to fix the actions, the crime, the drugs? Well, first, you've got to go deeper. You have to fix the foundational beliefs that are driving everything. It's a ground-up approach. So from this perspective, the poem isn't some dusty old text to escape our problems. It's actually the main tool we need to solve them. Okay, so for this poem to have so much weight, you've got to ask, who wrote it? And maybe even more important, when did they write it? Let's get some context. The author's name is Ibn Abi Dawud, and he was born way back in the year 230 after the Hijra. Now, looking at this timeline really puts things into perspective. We're talking about the early generations here. He was learning from teachers who learned straight from the companions of the Prophet Muhammad. So for people who follow this tradition, that close connection, that's everything. It means his work is seen as a super pure transmission of the original teachings. And get this is a classic feature of the scholarship from back then. The entire poem, which lays out the core of Islamic theology, it's only 33 lines. 33, that's it. This style, incredibly short but packed with meaning, it's a real hallmark of those early scholars. So what is this foundation the poem is trying to build exactly? Well, it all boils down to one super important concept, Aqidah, or, what we call creed. Now, Aqidah isn't just some casual list of things you kind of believe. No, it's the absolute bedrock of what makes someone a Muslim. We're talking about the 6 pillars of faith: belief in God, his angels, his books, his messengers, the last day, and divine decree. And this is really important. From this perspective, the correct Aqidah is a single defined path. It's not a buffet where you can pick and choose. Okay, so the poem's number one principle, the most important rule, is all about where you get this creed from. And the answer is super specific. 2 sources, and only 2. The Quran and the authentic guidance of the Prophet Muhammad, which is known as the Sunnah. This is seen as the ultimate safeguard, the anchor that keeps everything pure. So, if the main instruction is stick to the Quran and Sunnah, then it makes sense that the main warning would be against its exact opposite, right? And that's something called religious innovation, or bid'ah. But it's so important to get this distinction right. When we talk about bid'ah in this religious context, it means adding something new into the religion. Like a new belief or a new act of worship that the Prophet himself didn't teach. And here's the key. This warning has absolutely nothing to do with our day-to-day worldly stuff. And this is where it all clicks into place. The argument is actually pretty straightforward. You just can't compare using a smartphone with, say, inventing a whole new prayer. Worldly things, like technology, phones, cars, they're meant to be innovated. That's how we progress. But when it comes to religious matters, the core beliefs, the acts of worship, those are seen as finished, sealed. The goal there isn't to create something new. It's to follow what's already been established. And the classical scholars took this so seriously. I mean, just listen to this quote from Imam Malik. It really lays out the logic. He says, if you come along and introduce a so-called good innovation, what you're really saying, without saying it, is that the Prophet's message wasn't complete. It's seen as a huge deal, like you're accusing him of not delivering the full message. So the danger of this religious innovation is seen as having 2 parts. First, like we just said, it suggests the religion was left unfinished. But the second danger, it's a bit more psychological and maybe even sneakier. The person introducing the innovation, they genuinely think they're doing a good thing. So unlike a regular sinner who knows they messed up, this person doesn't feel any need to repent. Why would they? In their own mind, they're making the religion better, not messing it up. Okay, so let's bring it all back home. How does all of this talk about theology and ancient principles, how does it connect back to our first question about gangs and drugs? How does following a 1,200-year-old poem lead to real success today? And this is where we get to the ultimate payoff. The idea is that following the Quran and the Sunnah isn't just about the hereafter. No, it's framed as the direct key to what's called falah, which means total, all-encompassing success, both in this world and the next. The logic is simple. A solid belief creates a sound heart. A sound heart leads to good actions, and good actions are what fix a broken society. So in this view, theology isn't some abstract thing on the side. It's the fundamental solution.
So we'll leave you with this to think about. In our world today, a world that is obsessed with constant change, with innovation, with the next big thing, what's the role of anchoring ourselves to these ancient foundational texts? Is it a source of timeless stability that we desperately need? Or is it just an obstacle holding us back from progress? That's really the big tension that this 1,200-year-old poem makes us wrestle with, even now.